Hello and welcome to this very special episode of Success Synergy Show. I am with Marcus Cauchi. He is a hyper growth expert and a sales strategist. Sales comes very easy to Marcus. I know that because I've had a conversation with him and he gave such great snippets that I was absolutely overwhelmed. And here we go, asking Marcus the most important question of the day: how to avoid social media marketing wastage. That is our topic of the day. And I'm so happy that Marcus agreed to tell us more about this.
Okay,
So, Marcus, welcome to the show.
thank you for having me, Nina. Much appreciated.
I'm so thankful for you to be here. Tell us a little bit about digital marketing wastage because most of the time we hardly hear anybody talking about this.
Okay,
Whenever we want to go online and we want to start marketing a product or a service, the first thing that is told to us is this is done mostly by digital marketing agencies, that you start putting out ads and immediately you'll start having some click throughs and you'll start making money and things like that, and somehow the business coach inside of me, I was not very convinced about this, and I have tried it just for a very short while. I've not wasted too much of money on it, but I have tried it and I realized that this is not the way to go. So
okay.
please tell us
Well,
your opinion about this.
there are an awful lot of social media marketing gurus out there who have a lot of money to make by getting lots of suckers to part with cash. The majority of them are poor. They'll always be poor because the stuff they teach either doesn't work or they've borrowed it from someone else who they got suckered into paying money for. $56 billion a year is wasted on Facebook advertising that get zero clicks. That's over 1.7 trillion impressions every year generate zero clicks. Pay-per-click advertising, unless you know what you're doing, is an utter waste of money and time. It's time consuming. Most of you are too unsophisticated to do it well. And if you're one of the 1.63% that actually managed to get more than one click, congratulations. But most of you, just never going to happen. What works really well for novices like me is content marketing. Um, my area is business to business, so I focused on the LinkedIn platform, and that works really well. So I have an outreach strategy to create connections with people who I think would be potentially interesting prospects or no interesting prospects. So typically I'll reach out to 25 to 30 people a day and invite them to connect. Then I have a second message which allows me to engage with them and find something of common ground or common interest, or I pull something from their profile and comment on that, because the idea is to create a conversation.
Right.
Now, once I've done that, then it's a seduction process. The sale and the seduction process are identical in their syntax. If you're trying to go out to woo somebody, the first thing
Right.
you have to do is attract them. If you fail to attract them, then you're not going to get any further than that. So your attraction is your outreach, it's your content, it's the headline, it's the opening paragraph. Spend at least half the time that you're going to write a piece of content on developing a really good headline. There's a fabulous, useful tool called CoSchedule, which is a headline analyzer.
Yes.
And if you go onto that, then you can test the structure of your headline. And if it scores in the green, it's probably going to be something that will at least draw someone's attention.
Right.
And content must be relevant. It must be contextually appropriate for the audience and the medium that you're operating in. And your content needs to add value. If you go onto LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, the amount of total drivel that is pushed out there, which is all about them, their company, their products, their services. I always equate this to showing photos of your ugly children to strangers and wondering why they aren't enthused by those seeing thousands of those photographs. If a friend comes back from a drunken holiday and they show you 500 photographs of them drunk in a pool, your attention's going to wane after the first one. So produce content that is relevant, that makes the person reading it feel like they're part of that story. Um,
Right.
and create series of content, be consistent. But the majority of people give up when they don't get the number of likes, comments, and shares that they were hoping for their masterpiece. You need to practice, you need to get better and better. It's taken me, about 13, 14 years to get to the level that I'm at. I could have probably got there faster if I'd asked questions, if I had some guidance. But most of the stuff, like you were saying, Neena, is full of people saying run Facebook ads. I've wasted hundreds, thousands of pounds on that stuff. It just doesn't work. Because if you're not doing it exactly right and you're not targeting it exactly correctly, and your image and your headline and everything else aren't bang on, and then the follow-on process isn't really slick, then chances are you're wasting your money. So the first thing I would suggest that you do is start with your customer. Think as your customer. Don't think about them. Think as them. You need to
Right.
see the world through their eyes, enter their skin, and get a sense of what it's like to be them. What are the problems that they are facing? Why would they care enough to change what they're doing to do what you're suggesting? And this is where most people go wrong, because they don't understand that customers buy for their reasons, not your reasons, and they buy emotionally, not logically. It may be that you can save them 30% on their utilities. It may be that you can help them sell more, cut their costs, improve their production, drive efficiency. But if they're not looking for that specifically, you're wasting your time.
So, why do people get so attracted to just putting up ads and just selling it? And I
It's
have seen that.
lazy. It's lazy and it's easy, and it's what they're looking for a quick fix. There is no quick fix. If you look at these marketeers who are successful using lead funnels and advertising and whatever, they test and test and test, and the ones who are really successful, they're spending $200,000 or $300,000 a month.
Yes.
So they've got lots of data to work from. They're not knocking out one or two ads, and maybe doing 10,000 impressions. They're doing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of impressions, and they're testing everything. They're split testing. It's a machine. It's like a marketing factory. But you being told that you need to SEO your website and put the right keywords in, yes, that can add value, but for most of us, that's just too much work. And there are
Yes.
great platforms like LinkedIn and Facebook, if that's your thing. I've got clients who use Facebook groups very successfully.
Yes.
And Instagram, if you're going for the consumer market or the youth market, that's probably a better place. I'm never going to find a customer who's going to buy my hypergrowth services on Instagram. No one's going to spend a couple of £100,000 on a change program that they saw me doing some funny video on Instagram, or if they do, it's very unlikely.
Yes. So it is very important to choose the social media platform correctly. And in fact, next week I'm going live solo, covering this topic only as to how to go about choosing the right social media platform for your own growth strategy, because everything does not work for everybody. And that's just how the things are. And in fact, tomorrow also, Marcus, I'm going live solo, focusing on the 10 mistakes that people generally make on social media. And I think my experience is also mostly on LinkedIn, and I have derived these mistakes mainly from LinkedIn. When you contact somebody, it's not just that within the short moment of your sending them a request and they accepting your request, you start sending a lot of sales talk to them. So, but a lot of people still do that, and especially during this pandemic time, I have seen this great surge in such activities, which I know they don't work because social media doesn't react like that. So, what do you have
Well,
to say about this?
The first thing is look at the right end of the problem. First of all, identify who your customer is and who they are not. Your total addressable market is not your ideal
Right.
customer. Your total addressable market may be anybody who is looking to scale their business. Your ideal customer may then be a 10 to 50 million turnover disruptive technology scale up that is already growing at 30 or 40% per annum, but now they're looking to really ramp up and they want to grow by 200% or more, and they also want to do so without the wheels coming off. So they're at a certain
Right.
stage, they've got very specific needs, they've already got a few customers. Um, Anyone who doesn't fit that profile is not your target customer. So be
Absolutely.
clear about who is not, and do not waste a moment's effort or a single red cent on spending it on trying to attract those people. Who you say no to matters more than who you say yes to, because you'll get diverted and there's a huge opportunity cost. Just acquiring the wrong kind of lead will sink you in sales conversations that you don't need to be in, and you will waste an inordinate amount of time, effort, money, resource, and you'll get distracted. So be really clear about who your customer is and who they are not. Only market to the people who are your
Right.
ideal customer. Next, make sure that your message to them is relevant, it's timely. Don't talk about what worked pre COVID, talk about what they need to deal with
Right.
now. Don't
Right
talk
now. Exactly.
and make sure that your message is relevant to the individual to whom you are targeting. There is no such thing as broadcasting to everybody nowadays. That kind of broadcast interruption kind of marketing is no longer welcome. Just look at your own behavior if you're listening or watching to this. How many of the emails that come into your inbox do you actually read? How many of them do
Oh,
you read?
absolutely.
How many of them
Yeah.
do you read beyond the headline or looking at who sent it? Okay, so that kind of interruption marketing is massively outdated, and the price of free marketing is everyone who will never do business with you because you irritated them. Okay, so stop interrupting,
Exactly.
get permission, get invited in. And the way you get invited in is by offering consistent value. I'm sort of see myself as an overnight success after 17 years. Um,
Right.
I've
Right.
been doing a lot of work learning how to do this stuff, but more importantly, I've been learning how my market responds. And sometimes I'm too slow off the mark because their tastes or their needs or their pressures have changed. The economy changed. In the UK, we've got a 20 to 22% reduction in GDP. So, offering a premium service, it needs to be really targeted to people who still have money. If you're offering a pilot hire, sell them cheap service, then you need to get volume. So you've got to attract the right kind of people. And
Right.
your job is to understand your customer. Who are they? What's it like to be them? What does their typical day, week, month, quarter look like? What are the questions that they're asking themselves? What are the pressures they are under? Who is scrutinizing them? What are they measuring? How are they being measured? How are they rewarded and compensated? Where are they in their life cycle? Are they in startup, continuation, growth, turnaround, or recovery?
Right.
Where are they in their
Right.
job? Are they new to their job? Are they well established? Are they coming to the end of their job life cycle? Um, do they carry a budget themselves? Are they influencers? Are they users? Are they decision makers? You need to see the world through your customer's eyes, and that is not for the lazy. And this is one of the principal reasons why most of these programs that people peddle over the internet don't work. They're offering shortcuts where no shortcut is due. It's just not
Yes.
possible. You
That's
have to
that's
do your
very important
research.
to understand. Absolutely. Absolutely. There are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts, and anybody who has really understood the digital media platforms understands this, that there are no shortcuts. it is a consistent cycle on which you embark, and then you just keep on and on and on. And especially the content marketing strategies that I think everybody is using. Today only I read an article from LinkedIn saying that there was during this pandemic there was about 67% of content growth on LinkedIn. But
Is
how
that
much
in
of that
volume or
is
quality?
actually that's exactly what I'm coming to. I mean, they've just given out a statistic, but that's a volume-based statistic. It's not quality-based statistic at all. So,
And
what do we
so,
say to that?
well, this is really important. My pal Al Tepper talks about measuring the only metric that matters in online marketing, which is buzz. Buzz is the subsurface contact that someone was inspired enough by your content to contact you and say, Neena, I just read your piece on LinkedIn. It was like you were a fly on the wall at my house. I was having that conversation with my boss only yesterday. I need to speak to you. I mean, last week I had 13 meetings with prospects where exactly that happened. It was 11 or 12 of those cases. They had never once liked, comment, or shared on any of my posts. Some of them have been following me for 10 years. I mean, that's how
Right.
stupid I am. It takes me 10 years to finally hit the bullseye. Yeah, it's a bit like me playing darts or snooker. I'm just as bad at those things. My golf is even worse. Um,
That's. I have a word for this. That's called humility, Marcus. I
oh,
know.
yeah, I wish it were humility, just not incompetence. But
No, no, no. It is definitely humility.
the reality is that if you hit that point in their life at the right time, they will just contact you, and it just
Right.
opens the floodgates. So, I mean, this
Absolutely.
week I've got another 7 meetings booked already, where I have done no physical outbound calling. I sell for a living, and I have to fill my pipeline. But what I found is that through understanding who my customer is and where they are, I can pinpoint an individual
Right.
and I can write content specifically for them. Because as I follow them and I start to engage with them a little bit, I might hear about the kind of things that they're going through. I'll see stuff in the press. I'll see that they've got a new job, or they've been in that job for a couple of years, or a competitor's suddenly won a piece of business. So I can write a piece of content that will just strike home, and it'll grab their attention because I might mention their competition, or I might mention something about losing a customer, knowing that they've just lost a customer. So a lot of
Right.
the kind of digital marketing I do is about having a very narrow target market and stalking those people to a large extent. You have to be a student of individual prospect psychology. Um, you need to understand what they're doing, where they are, the kind of pressure that they're under. So when you write your content, they can see themselves in your story. And it's not your job to be the hero ever. One of the biggest mistakes I
Right.
see, and the 67% increase on LinkedIn, I guarantee 95% of it was the author making themselves or their company the hero of the story. No one wants to read about someone else being the hero. They want to see themselves. So when you're on LinkedIn, make your LinkedIn profile about your customers, about the problems you
Right.
help them to solve, why they should want to talk to you. Have the customer's voice in there. What do your customers say about you? How have you helped them to solve problems? So, one really useful piece of social media marketing is the recommendations and testimonials on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
there is a format that I use when I'm asking someone to write a recommendation for me. It's 7 questions. Who are you and who do you serve? Because people buy from people like themselves.
Right.
What problems initially caused you to reach out and ask for my help or invite me to help you? Okay, so those are the pain indicators, the symptoms that they're likely to have. What initial reservations did you have? I may as well deal with objections up front and have
Yes.
my clients deal with them for me.
Right.
Okay, what
Right.
results did you generate? So now we've got pounds, shillings, pence, percentages, improvements, reductions, all that kind of stuff. What surprised you? Because again, some people may think, well, I thought it was going to be so much harder than it is. Other people will say, I didn't realize just how hard it was going to be, but it was worth it in the end. Okay. Was it fun working with me? And would you recommend me, and why? I found that a lot of people have been intimidated by my online persona because I am very direct. I need my customers to say that I'm not a total monster. Why would they recommend me? Well, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, I have 200 recommendations on there. Most of them, I'd say at least 100 of them, are at least one page of copy long, where people are going through that narrative. Now, I don't know any other trainer, any other consultant, any other professional services person who comes close to that. There may be one or two, but I'm certainly in the top 3 or 5 on LinkedIn, I would have thought, on that basis. Maybe I'm guilty of hubris there, but certainly by comparison, most people in my line of work, training, coaching, consulting, they've got 2, 3, 5, 20. They don't have 200, and they don't have that depth, that richness. So have your customers tell people how great you are. You should never tell people how great you are.
Yes.
The minute you do, people will find a way to knock you down.
Right. And yet, Marcus, it makes so much of sense what you're telling me. But at the same time, I have seen a lot of people go in for likes and comments and some very basic post, which would be like talking only about some very, very simple stuff, and they must be having 4,000 comments on it. How does that happen? Because see, algorithms based websites, all of these social media platforms are, and they will just keep showing that over and over and over again to a
Yeah,
larger number of audience.
but once you've seen it, do you go back? Is it memorable?
No.
Right. So all of that is vanity. Please don't be offended, but it's basically masturbatory marketing. It's pleasing yourself. It's not pleasing your audience. And the problem with that is that if you're trying to please yourself, you're offering zero value.
Right.
And people will come back, be loyal. They'll tell other people because you're bringing real value. One of the things I'm so grateful for from my network is just how much they promote my stuff. They share it. They engage with it. It's not just type yes if you want this, and that kind of thing can work, raising awareness. But what actually works really well is creating a conversation with people and having them contact you through the direct messaging function, and excuse me, talking to you and saying, I read that piece, it was really familiar, I'm just about to embark on an expansion plan. I've been following your material for years, and I want to talk to you about how you can help me and grow my team. Now that is a lead of quality.
Right.
When you dig a little bit deeper and you qualify that they're of the right job title, the right size of company, that they can invest, they're willing to invest, that is a golden opportunity, and it's for me to lose. Yeah.
Right.
Now,
Yes, I like the way you said it's for me to lose, because if we don't win it, if we don't move forward, then of course it's a lost opportunity.
and
Yes.
this is where again people don't pay enough attention. I have never once listened or questioned my way out of a sale. Talked my way out of plenty. So once someone engages with you, listen, pay attention. Attention is a currency. You have to pay attention to what matters to them and the real reason why they want to buy. It might surprise you. It certainly surprised me. I never once thought that someone would buy my training services because they were worried about school fees. It never crossed my mind that I would be a means to pay an £80,000 vet's bill.
Okay.
I'd never crossed my mind that there would be 2 sets of twins out there that came about because of the money that people were able to make because of how I trained them, because they needed to pay for IVF treatment and they couldn't afford it.
Mm.
Now, those were their reasons for buying. Now, they're not the obvious reasons, because the obvious reason is we want to sell more stuff. Well, actually, people want to sell more stuff for a reason. And your job, once you've got them through that marketing cycle, is to then engage them in the sales cycle. And there is a continuum. You cannot separate good sales and marketing. That entire journey, that not only the narrative, but the experience going from the first touch, whatever that might be, of your brand, through to the engagement level where you're providing them with some content and they interact with it or interact with you, then take them through that journey. Every step of that needs to be meticulously focused on making sure the customer is satisfied. Anything that touches the customer is marketing. And whether it's online or offline, whether it's face-to-face or indirect, whether it's through your content or through webinars or through telephone conversations or Zoom, every step needs to be pristine. And it needs to make them feel like you value them. And this is where so much digital marketing is utterly wasted. Because it's me. It's like in the seduction process. If someone walks up to you at a nightclub and says, "Hello, what's your name? What's your name?"
Neena.
Enough about you. Let's talk about me, my company, my products, my services. Because that's the typical salesperson's seduction process. And they're not interested in you. You need to be interested, not interesting. And this, again, is really important. You need to understand how you can create content and use multiple media. So, this webinar, for example, this interview, you could develop a transcript from it. Off the back of that transcript, you could create lots of short articles and short posts. Each of the segments of the video could be cut down into tiny little pieces. So 1, 2, 3 minute bits of video. You can do audio files from them. Off the back of this, based on the stuff and the feedback that you get, you might create polls or you might start posing questions in order to get people to volunteer that they want a piece of content. And then you take a 2-minute segment from this as a video and you share that with them. Now, that's how you're smart with your marketing. It's called skinning the cat. There's more than one way to skin the cat. So use the same piece of content in multiple different ways. Subtitles. Subtitles. We know that most people consume video, out of COVID at least, they consume video on their mobile phone silently. So if you haven't got subtitles, you're missing most of your audience.
Right. I understand what you're saying, Marcus. We have some people who are commenting, although we haven't marketed this at all. But since we are posting the content and doing these live shows consistently, I'm getting some audience, some value.
Well, I shared the link.
Some value-added audience, which is interested in the meaty part of the content. So I have somebody over here. He's going by the name JP Sar, and he's saying fabulous questions include in the testimonials, and he has a question also here, which on the screen. It says, "Why are television high concept art?"
I'll tell you exactly why.
So removed from reality.
Because the chief marketing officer is a tosser. He wants to get an award. And they don't really think about why there was a Honda advert for years that ran, and it won award after award after award. Sales went down. People collecting gongs and awards. That's their massive ego and tiny tackle that's causing them to do stuff like that. Now a lot of car advertising actually isn't aimed at new buyers. It's aimed at existing buyers confirming that they made a good purchase. And that's why a lot of contemporary car advertising or that's who it's really aimed at. But again, when was the last time you bought a car off an advert? I don't think that type of advertising sells cars at all. Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Back in the early noughties or late 90s, there was the Renault Clio adverts. Oh, Nicole, all this kind of stuff. That created buzz. That created a dialogue with people, and so the brand became talked about. That I understand. But a lot of this stuff, this artsy fartsy advertising, is really designed to satisfy the massive ego of an idiot in charge of marketing. I'm okay. You said it was okay to upset people. I would suggest that the majority
Absolutely.
of marketing. Well, I would suggest that the majority of marketing professionals, and I use professionals in the loosest possible definition, should be fired. Their budget is utterly wasted, and you would be better off spending the money on lottery tickets. You will have a higher return on investment, and at
Marcus,
least you'll have some
sorry
fun.
to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. Please repeat your last sentence because there is a little bit of internet issue today, and we could
Okay.
not get that sentence
I'm
very
happy
clearly
to
recorded.
repeat
Can
it
you just repeat
you.
yourself?
For those of you who didn't hear, let me repeat it. Okay, most marketing departments should be fired. Most of the people in them gotten rid of, and most of the money that you spend on marketing would be better spent on buying lottery tickets. You would have more fun,
Lottery tickets.
and lottery tickets, bingo, or on the horses at Cheltenham. I think you'd have higher odds of getting a return. And it's not that marketing doesn't work. The right marketing executed well does work, but you have to measure
Yes.
the right things. And vanity
Absolutely.
metrics like likes, comments, shares, number of impressions, number of click throughs, that doesn't matter. The only reason anyone ever advertises with any sense is because they want to sell more stuff. That's it. Now, if you're trying to do it to get an
Absolutely.
award, you're an idiot. If you're doing it because it's going to enhance your CV, you're a selfish idiot. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Marketing needs to talk
I
to
would say
customers.
life in advertising, but
Well, sorry to cut across you. Marketing
absolutely.
needs to talk to customers, but they don't. They're divorced from
Absolutely.
customers. CEOs need to talk to customers, but very often they don't. The best sales leaders and the best CEOs that I know spend up to 50% of their time coaching their people and speaking to customers. They put themselves out there, and one of the first questions they ask is, how could we do better? How are we letting you down? How are we
Yes.
failing you? What is it that we need to do to help you achieve your outcomes, your objectives? But marketing comes up with some fabulous little campaign which they think is really clever. And they go out and they produce it. And then it produces lots of leads, none of which are convertible. I'll give you a perfect example of this. But 2 decades ago, I was working for a software company, and they produced 3,000 inquiries. Sales
Okay.
spoke to one of them because there was this disconnect between sales and marketing. Yeah.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
each
Yes.
of those leads cost the company well in excess of £350 to acquire.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were talking
What?
millions of pounds wasted in marketing cost, millions of pounds of opportunity left on the table because there was a disconnect between sales and marketing. And there weren't good systems that prevented things slipping through the gaps. In fact, sorry, it was 10,000 leads, not 3,000, 10,000. So there was £3.5 million of marketing budget wasted. Now, when they were acquired, they were acquired for a multiple of 15 times revenues. Now, there was another £3.5 million that would have been in the bank times 15. So the shareholders lost out on £50 million worth of acquisition
My God.
charge.
My
Yeah,
God.
exactly.
What a
Okay.
terrible
So,
wastage.
oh, it's massive. And wherever you look, you see this waste. It's everywhere because people are focused on the wrong end of the problem. They're trying to they're trying to satisfy themselves. They need to speak to customers. They need to ask the customer, what is it that you need us to help you do. Now, if that's not what we do well, then I have to refer you to someone else. But if you're not listening to your customer and you're not helping them achieve their objectives, you have no right to exist in business. So, John, I've just seen your next question. I was also going to ask, what are good ways to get an audience invested in our messages or brands, or to continue the conversation? But I've already answered it. Okay, yeah, skinning the cat. Cool. Okay.
Yes.
The other thing that you should be doing is listening, and when you listen, check that you've understood. You need to iron out any assumptions, because what you think you've heard may not be what they meant. And this is where marketing and sales really need to sharpen up their act. You have to go deeper and find out, well, why is that important? The first 3 times you ask why, chances are the first 2 at least will be an intellectual response. And you need to get an emotional response. So why do you want to increase your sales?
Right.
Well, we've got a big target to hit. Well, but why is that target there? What are you trying to achieve with that? Well, if we can achieve that, then we can
Why is it important?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So why does that matter to you personally? And good marketing feels like it's speaking to you as an individual. Now, that means that not everybody that you target is going to be is going to resonate with every message, which is why you've got to get scientific. You need to see which of your messages generated the buzz, which are the ones that generated the subsurface communication. And the reality is that you've got to not only pay attention, but you then have to demonstrate to them that you've heard and that you've listened. And this is where a lot of people go wrong. Have you ever been to a hotel and at the end of your stay, they send you the customer satisfaction survey, which asks you,
Yes.
What was the check-in like? What was the shower cap like? Service and whatever else. Now, the reality was you were in a corner room that overlooked the pool on a Saturday night when there was a stag night. There was no soundproofing and your aircon wasn't working. You were by the lift and by the ice machine. So the thing you really want to talk about is soundproofing. Yeah?
Right.
But there's nothing
Absolutely.
in there for you to talk about it. And then, even if there is, they don't come back and tell you what they did about it. So marketing is a two-way conversation. You don't market to people. Yeah, you're not marketing at them. This has to be a conversation. And this is something that's sorely missed. Now, Bhuvan has just asked the question, how can attractive words like free and discount? Honestly, honestly, don't use them. Free sends a really bad message. And discount.
I think there's some internet issue at my end. I'm not too sure about this, but there seems to be an internet issue here. I can't really do anything about it, so let's just get on with this.
I can hear you.
Okay, so, fine. Let's get on to answering Bhuvan's question.
Has asked the question: how can attractive words like free and discount potentially be used to get customers via social platforms? Bhuvan, don't use them. They don't actually attract the right type of customer. They attract people who want free stuff. Do you want to get paid? You can send the answer yes or no through your message. If you want to get paid, then add and deliver value. People will pay you. It's never about the money in a real selling situation. Never, ever, ever. I mean, I've tried free, and what I got was a lot of people who attend free seminars.
Right.
They're not people they're not buyers.
Yes.
They're time pickers.
I've recently done one free seminar. I haven't attained any buyers from there.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I know that for sure.
What it may do is raise awareness. The reason I'm doing this is for awareness, for no other reason. Neena was introduced to me by a very good referral partner of mine, Sam Rathling. If you ever want to see how to build a great LinkedIn presence, then speak to my friend Sam. She has an online academy, and I think it's for £500 or something. You can learn how to do LinkedIn properly, and you
Absolutely.
can do it
Sam
at
is
your own
just
leisure.
amazing. Yes.
Oh,
And you
stunning.
can go you can go and watch our show together. Sam was very courteous to very generous to come to my show. And although this is a new show, I've been able to get some very good guests, and
And me.
that in it. Yeah, of course, I mean, after that, I went and purchased Sam's book, and I found Marcus over there because he has written the foreword to the book, and then I gave him a referral of Sam, and then got connected with him. So that's how you form your connections. It's not about just pitching some sales pitch to somebody and thinking that it
So,
can actually work. Yeah, free can
so,
attract some people. It can create some buzz, but
so
nothing more than that.
one of the things I've found really powerful on social is to use multiple media. And I've been fortunate enough to be running a podcast for nearly 2 years now. And it's not huge, but it's very niche and it's got a massively loyal following. And what I've been really fortunate
Right.
about is I've written my own book. So that's given me a little bit of cachet with other authors. It's not. I suspect it's sold about 50 copies so far, but it's very niche, and it was always intended as a $10 business card. Now, what I've been able to do is interview some really fascinating people. And they've been kind enough to introduce me to other people. And when we publish our interviews, they send it out to their networks, and that raises awareness. So the first thing you have to do is attract.
Yes.
Okay, and attraction is partly about raising awareness. Then you have to make people comfortable with you. Now, you make people comfortable by delivering consistently incredible value. So I don't make any effort to try and sell my programs or my services on my content. I used to, never worked, got very frustrated with it, and then I realized that no one wants to be sold. People love to buy, they hate to be sold. So don't sell using
Right.
social. Use social to create the engagement. So attract, make comfortable, and then seduce. Now, seduction is about having people talk about themselves, not you talk about yourself. Be interested, not interesting. And have them engage with you, tell you about their situation, their problems. Use content in order to drive a dialogue with them where they say, oh, I've got this problem, I've got that question. What would you do in this situation? And listen to them. Listen to what the themes are, the threads that keep coming up time and again. And test. I ran two pieces of content on LinkedIn. One about why you should never discount and what the long-term cost and implications are of that. And that had a quarter of the views and interaction of the double your prices piece. You should see how passionate people get when you tell them to double their prices, and people jump on and say, yes, absolutely. And I literally got 400% more
Yes.
interaction with that. And I got a couple of pieces of business off the back of it. Not from stopping discounting, but raising prices. I didn't think that would be the case. I
Right.
thought it would be the other way around. So iron out all the assumptions that you make. Yeah? And don't let
Especially if
yourself.
you're in value-added training services. I mean, it's always
Yeah.
training is always difficult, and it comes at a price. And a lot of premium value-added stuff is given out over there.
Well,
So might as
I'm
well the right kind of audience should pay for it. Why not?
absolutely. I'm getting clients who I'm working with at the moment telling me that the people who are not being trained by me are hitting 40 to 60% of their quota, and my clients are doing 140 to 220 in the middle of COVID. They're doing six-figure deals on a regular basis. Their profit margins are through the roof. Now, that's not me saying it. That's them telling me. That's them saying that on my testimonials. Now,
Right.
that's fabulous because I don't have to do that work. Because if it comes out of my mouth, no one believes it. If it
Yes.
comes out of a customer's mouth, some of them will believe it. But if
Definitely.
it comes out of their own mouth, they definitely believe it.
Definitely gonna
So,
believe it.
what can you
Yes.
do in order to have your prospective customers engage with you and volunteer that they need help? That's what really smart marketing does. They
Marcus,
volunteer themselves.
yes, tell us about your book, which you mentioned just a while back, and
The
also tell us a little bit about your training program. That's on my request. We want
Okay,
to understand what exactly are you
okay. So
covering in that
I've
training
written a
program.
book that virtually none of you will have any interest in reading, called "Making Channel Sales Work," and this is about.
I would love to
Okay.
go through
Well,
that.
this is about how to build a really effective third party selling program. So, if you sell through agents, resellers, franchises, licensees, distributors, managed service providers, systems integrators, value added resellers, all of these are third party sellers. Did
Yes,
you know, Nina, that 75% of all products sold globally are sold through partners today?
I am aware of this, but I don't have the statistics. I am
Right.
just
So
more.
when we originally wrote the book,
Hmm,
Suzanne, can you do me a favor and get me a copy of the book, please? When we originally wrote the book, I did my research on Amazon,
hmm,
and for direct sales, there were 385,000 unique titles. For channel sales, there were 150. So this is the
okay,
book that none of you are going to read.
I will. I definitely
Okay.
will.
Um, and but now, since we wrote it, there are 180 copies on channel sales. Now, when you think 75% of all product sales are sold through third parties, that's a bit of an indictment, because channel sales is seen as the ginger-haired, illegitimate, ugly stepdaughter of direct sales, because that's where most of the people who are in leadership in sales come from. They sold direct, and they think that the margins are better and all this kind of stuff. So we designed this as a blueprint to help people build really effective business, international businesses. So that's why we focus on hyper growth companies. They're companies that want to grow at 200 or 300, 400% per annum without everything falling apart. And so that's
Right.
what we wrote the book to help.
I'll get your book and tell us a little bit about your training program also. I mean,
Okay.
just a broad overview as to what all is covered inside the training program, so
So
that people interested in.
I'm with a company called Sandler Training, who most of you will never have heard of. We happen to be the world's largest sales and sales management training company, by hundreds of people, and we train millions of people across the globe. So I think we do about $250 million a year in training fee income, just as a brand ourselves. But we train small businesses, startups, all the way through to global multinationals. And we teach them how to stop doing stupid things, like free consultancy, like presenting too early. Because your typical salesperson will try and qualify loosely for budget, authority, need, and time. Then they will show up and throw up, and they'll tell them all about their company, their products, their services, all the logical reasons why someone should buy. And then they'll try and close them, and then they'll spend their time battling with objections, and then they'll write a proposal or send a quote, and then spend the rest of their time chasing people. 80% of a full-time salesperson's time is spent chasing people they should have closed or disqualified on the last call. So there's 400% growth potential just by eliminating that one wasted step.
Okay.
And so we teach people online, offline, classroom, through reinforcement. So we're all about creating lifetime behavioral change. But the reality is 98% of training in sales doesn't work, because you can't go on a training program and change a lifetime of bad habits by just turning up, feeding from the fire hose, and expecting to be fixed. That's not how it works. So
Right.
I generally stop people from doing stupid things. That's my job.
That's a phenomenal way of putting it in a nutshell, and that's just wonderful. And Marcus, we are at the top of the hour, so I will just put up some comments that we are getting here. One, Dr. Rakesh Kumar Singh says, "Good, great,
Thank you,
fantastic."
Rakesh.
And there's one, Mr. Shishir Jindal. I know him actually. He's from the same city. He's saying, "Great going, Neena. Neena G. G is for, as a mark of respect. We use the word G after the name." He says, "Good, great going, Neena G. And I appreciate you for regularly organizing webinars on varied subjects and enriching our knowledge." Wonderful. Thank you, Shishiji.
Thank you.
One Mr. Prem Shankar is also saying great. And let's see. Bhuvan Bhagwe is saying, please mention your book. Can you just show your book again, please?
Of
Please
course.
bring it close to the camera. That would be
Thank you for the
wonderful.
extra plug. So
Making,
it's called Making Channel Sales
making
Work by myself and my co-author
by.
David Davies. And it's
I'll do one thing. I'll put up a link to the book to Amazon.
Yeah,
For this book, and
I'll
you can
put
get
a
it.
copy of the link in our chat. And
Fine.
if you want a paperback version, in fact, what I'll do is I'll put 3 links in there. One is to my to buy the paperback. The other one is to join our LinkedIn group if you sell through partners, and the other one is to get my YouTube playlist for videos around selling through the channel.
Fantastic, Marcus. Just send me all of these links and I will put them in the description of these videos. And the people who are interested can go and subscribe to the channel, the YouTube channel. It's a new channel that we have just started building, and definitely we can go ahead. And Marcus, if that would be
Bhuvan's
your
asked for
channel
some
as
other
well as
books.
my channel.
Okay,
Yes,
so
Bhuvan is
Bhuvan's
asking.
asked for some additional books. LinkedIn Bound by Sam Rathling is a brilliant book.
Yes,
I
it's a
would
brilliant
also
book.
look up a guy called Fraser Hay, Fraser Hay. He's got 20 best-selling books on digital and internet marketing, and he actually walks the talk. He's one of the best. There's a guy called Ian Brody who I would look up as well. He's got some fabulous stuff on marketing and digital marketing. I would also get a book called Just Listen by Mark Goulston. Most of us do not know how to listen. We hear, but we don't listen. And
Yes.
that is a must read.
Fine. I will include all of these links that Marcus is going to send me. He has already sent me on the private chat, and I'll include them in the description of these videos. So just go ahead, pay attention to them. They are phenomenal materials. And Marcus, just before we close the show, can you just tell me and tell all our audience one last thing? There are a lot of advertising on the internet which says so such and such person has made so much of money, or the person who is advertising has made so much of money. This money based advertising, wherein people are just showcasing their money as if you're just opening the bank account and showing it to people. What kind of how can you even.
Maybe some of them have done it, but if they're driving around in a Rolls Royce or a Bentley, they probably rented it. It's most of that stuff is just smoke and mirrors. It's drivel. There are no shortcuts. You're not going to get rich quick. It takes time. You become an overnight success after a decade. The Beatles didn't become an overnight success overnight. They spent 7 years stuck in a Hamburg cellar playing 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. Yeah, and there is no shortcut. You have to get to know your customer. But most importantly, in fact, know what it is that you actually sell. What do you want to be known for?
Right.
Why do you want to be known for that? Because all too often what you see is people waste so much of their time not really understanding what it is that they sell. They think they sell training, or they sell software, or they sell dog collars, but they don't. People don't buy that. People buy something else. They buy it for a reason. And if you don't understand that, how on earth can you expect your customer to?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Marcus, for that phenomenal message. Bhuvan is saying subscribe to both your channels. Both of you added so much value to the audience.
Thank you so much.
Bhuvan has generally been very regular at all of these shows that I've been doing. Although I've not known him, he has come to be through Facebook or YouTube. I think she's joining today from Facebook. So that's just a phenomenal thing. We don't know so many people, and yet we get down to meeting them through social media. And social media, as far as my understanding goes, is a place where you meet a lot of people, as Marcus has just said,
Yeah,
just elaborated so very well in this show, that it is a meeting ground, meet the people, engage with them, and then grow from there. And you have to take the meeting off from the social media and take it into a personalized space so that you
absolutely.
can actually sell to them. Thank you so much, Marcus. It's been just wonderful. And
Thank you,
we'll close the
Neena.
show down for this. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Bye bye. Thanks for following.
Bye.